Hello, and welcome to the Engineering Influence podcast from ACEC. My name is Thomas Grogan, Senior Director, Economics and Market Intelligence here at ACEC. We're really happy to have Chelsey Hendrickson from Kimley Horn on our podcast today. Welcome, Chelsey.
Hi, thanks for having me, Thomas.
Yeah, really happy to have you here. Chelsey leads the New Ventures Incubator and Technology Solutions team at Kimley Horn. So she's a great guest to dive into the topic of digital transformation, which is what we've been talking about a lot here at ACEC. So Chelsey, to kick things off, I'd love to get your thoughts. What does digital transformation mean to you?
Sure thing. So to me, digital transformation means leveraging technology to provide a better work experience for our people and better outcomes for our clients and the communities that we serve. Whether it's reducing tedious tasks, providing more accurate answers faster, or improving team coordination, or even equipping organizations to make more informed decisions, technology is empowering our industry to increase our impact.
Absolutely. And so could you maybe walk us through what, a day in the life as someone leading new ventures at an AE firm, what that looks like and type of stuff you're doing leading the technology solutions team?
Of course. Well, as you might guess, doing things kind of in an innovation space, things look different every day. I have a team of people that I'm working with who are amazing, and we are some days or some parts of my day, perhaps I should say, I'm really focusing on that incubator piece, both talking with those within Kimley Horn as well as talking with some of our clients about some of the things that they're facing that are new challenges that are needing to be addressed, whether through new consulting services or through new technology solutions. Really paying attention to what our people are seeing, what our people are hearing, and likewise with our clients, so that we can be either providing new consulting services or developing technology solutions to be meeting those kind of changing needs. So a lot of collaborative conversations, both internally as well as externally, and then, following those conversations, figuring out what we're going to do about them. Doing market research on those things to say what else already exists in the marketplace, what's Kimley Horn's space in addressing this, and then for some of the things that we've carried out and done something about, how is it working? How can we be continuing to enhance what we're doing so that we can be continuing to kind of meet the need? And then, of course, there's the piece too about getting the word out and the marketing and communication to really increase adoption on things that are more internally facing for our firm, as well as increase, sales and implementation externally for things that are more externally facing as well.
Wow. Yeah, that's definitely a busy day in the life. One thing, that you mentioned when you were talking about digital transformation is, one of the components is helping your coworkers, your team internally be more efficient. How do you work on those projects, or really how do you think about solving some of those problems that are around, say, organizational efficiency, the technologies you're using internally, and how you kind of work collaboratively together?
Yeah, great question. I think one of our technology solutions in particular that we have been working on really for the past decade, but have more recently really been honing in on, I think does just that. And that's why that's a solution that we're really excited about, because I think that's a issue or a challenge that organizations have across the board, whether they're other consulting firms, whether they're architect firms or, private companies or even, public agencies. I think that's something that everyone is trying to figure out of how do we most effectively collaborate between entities. A lot of times our industry is working on projects that have a lot of different partners involved in them. And in our firm, for example, we're a national firm, and so we're serving our clients across the country with staff. So how do we produce that work efficiently, communicate effectively? And so I think identifying and leveraging solutions that are able to equip you to do that are really important.
Yeah. And so for some of these solutions, whether they're internal or external, how does the process work with new ideas? You mentioned some of it involves market research and talking to a customer. Do you have like a pipeline of employees submitted ideas? How do you kind of, go from source the ideas, get them, vet them, try to work on a project delivery with them? How does that work at Kimley Horn?
Yeah, so I think this is a process that continues to evolve over time as we're trying to really get more effective at incubating things, just like we're trying to get more effective at our design consulting work as well. I will say, historically, how this has worked at Kimley Horn has been very grassroots and broad reaching, of trying to hear from as many people as we can. And because innovation and entrepreneurialism are such a core part of Kimley Horn's culture, I think it's always going to be part of the broad sourcing of what we're doing. At the same time, what we have learned is just because things are interesting to our staff, or they maybe are something that people would be interested in working on, doesn't necessarily mean that there's a place in the marketplace for that item of interest. And so how can we bring together our people's passion, their technical expertise, with those things that are rooted in marketplace needs? And so, as I mentioned, we're still doing some of that broad sourcing, but we're also trying to focus the sourcing. So what are we seeing as needs and kind of gaps in the marketplace, and how do we get our people to focus on those things? So we've done things like Genius grants, where we've had a number of different topics where we say, come to us, Kimley Horn employees, with your ideas related to these 5 different topics. We've also worked with partners to identify kind of key things to be working on. We're also working to leverage some of our great innovators within the firm who really have a great kind of pulse on what's happening in the marketplace, who have some great ideas, and also tapping into some of those kind of collaborative meetings that are already happening within our organization, whether those are key, face-to-face practice meetings that are happening, or some of our emerging leader meetings that are happening. How do we kind of leverage places and gatherings where people are already talking about different topics, and we have some of our great staff together, and leverage that time to then be talking about innovation and what we need to be doing next as a firm.
Yeah, fascinating. So, as you mentioned, some project solutions you've been working on or iterating on for over a decade. Kimley Horn has many employees. This is clearly a concerted effort to do things like Genius grants for some of the smaller firms who are members of ACEC that might only be a handful of employees, or newer firms to the industry who just don't have the history and resources. What sort of advice would you give for someone who's kind of going to begin doing new technology ventures or work on incubation, who is just getting started?
I would say really take things incrementally and really leverage, your people's, I talked about this earlier, but leverage your people's passions and your people's expertise. I think one of the unique things as we think about what's happening in our industry and in our marketplace is that we have this convergence, right, of technology, of business consulting, of design consulting, and where I think the ACEC firms can really hone their place in the market is by leveraging their industry expertise and their industry relationships. And so what the expertise and relationships of every firm look like are going to be different. But I would say pay attention to your people, pay attention to your clients, because I think that can also help where your place is in the marketplace to help be solving those problems. And don't try to do it all at once. I think for us as an organization, we have done things in pieces, and now we've gotten to a place where we have different teams focusing on different things, but that didn't happen overnight. And so I would encourage others to similarly, start in one place with what you're looking to do, and really try to leverage your strengths and leverage kind of your differentiators in the marketplace.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so, you had mentioned think about ideas from your people as well as your clients, and they'll mention that just because an idea someone might think is a good idea, it doesn't mean it's been market tested. How can a firm, think about ideas or work generated with a client, but have that critical lens to maybe not put all their eggs in one basket and think, okay, I came up with this one solution for this one client, or this one client is saying it'd be really great if this thing could do X, Y, Z. You have limited resources to try to make X, Y, Z happen. How what are some frameworks or ways to think about, getting the most bang for your buck, and also really, thinking does this one client solution actually lead to a bigger, technology product or venture?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of great answers or a lot of great questions that come with answers in what you just asked. So I think a couple of things that come to mind with what you're talking about. We always like to ask, okay, one client is having this problem. How many other clients are having the same problem? Because if the problem looks different to 25 different people, it's hard to scale a solution that works for everyone. But if those same 25 people are having the problem at least somewhat similarly, it's easier to go and address the problem.
Mm-hmm.
I think in the same way, how big of a problem is it and how much of a pain point is it for people? Because part of what we're doing right with this digital transformation requires people to change. And if it's not too big of a pain point or not a big deal, people may not be willing to change, or they may not be willing to pay for what you're talking about, which I think is critical in what we're all doing, because we need a revenue stream that goes along with these investments. So excuse me, I think those are a couple critical things. I also think as design professionals, we also tend to have a very high bar for performance. And I think and tend to be maybe a little bit more risk averse. And so, what we need to think about in this innovation space is a little bit some willingness to fail and to try to either win fast or fail fast, such that not everything we're going to try in this innovative space is going to work. But how do we identify when we missed the market somehow, or this what we brought or worked on wasn't quite right? And on our team, we like to call it composting, right? Rather than failing or something like that, because how do we then like reuse what we've done in some way? And how do we learn from that and leverage it for the next thing? And so with what you were saying with, one thing for one client, well, how do we kind of think about, okay, not everything is going to work. So we can't put all our eggs in that one basket. What are 10 different things we could be looking at, hoping that we can find a couple that are going to be the right fit in the marketplace?
Yeah, I like the word composting. Also, a nod to sustainability. In our space, when I was talking to someone else about this, and basically said, "When do you know that you failed?" They said, let's not think about it in terms of failing, but rather pivoting to a new solution, or maybe pause it while you then go gather more research and get more feedback. So within Kimley Horn, how does your group work in terms of, you know, upskilling or collaborating with the different offices for training, teaching your employees about new technologies, new ways of doing project delivery? Do you work with your, HR group? is it once a year everyone gets together and talks about technology? How are you kind of embedded in the fabric to keep your workforce innovative, creative, entrepreneurial?
Great question. I think that too, we're continuing to evaluate what's working, what's resonating. On our internal website page, we have resources and space dedicated to both what we're doing in terms of an innovation incubator, but also the things that we have developed in terms of internal and external technology solutions that people can be leveraging on their projects or sharing with their clients. So of course, just having that broad-based communication is helpful. In terms of the training and communication that way, Kimley Horn has a very robust training system, and so we have integrated well into that. This summer, a colleague and I taught 3 rounds of what at Kimley Horn is called consultant training, which is a program for our emerging leaders within the firm. And so this year it was a new class entirely focused on new ventures and technology solutions, both trying to better equip our emerging leaders with what we have already invested in as a firm, but continuing to help them think about, okay, but then what's next? So there's the broad-based communication on the website, embedding into trainings. We've also tried to do firm-wide events of some sort every year. So several years ago, we had a New Ventures Week where it was all about promoting innovation throughout the week, with TED Talk Tuesday and Walkabout Wednesday, where there were questions of getting people to think about things. And then at the end of that week, we had a big Shark Tank pitch event at each of our offices. So that was like a pretty big week. Last year, we had a Technology Solutions Day where across the firm, over the lunch hour, people were able to join and kind of broad-based hear some stories and then get into individual breakout rooms. So, just like we want what we're working on to be innovative and fresh, we're trying to do that with how we're engaging with people and really hearing about what's working, what's not working, and whether it's videos or podcasts or different things of how we're trying to communicate and get the word out too.
Yeah, fascinating. So what are some of the risks a small firm or a new firm, or rather any firm, might face if they're going to start a digital transformation journey? What things should they, kind of be on the lookout for?
I think one of the things that comes to mind initially with risks, and I balance this maybe with the word challenges too,
Yeah.
is managing expectations.
Mm.
I think a lot of times people can have really big expectations for what something related to innovation or technology could do for their firm. And I think, managing those of both what we are doing and what we're not doing to keep people aligned and on the same page, and also be willing to adjust expectations. I think this is a space where we're continuing to learn and grow of what this could look like for us. And of course, markets change. We learn along the way, as we were talking about. Not everything we try is going to work. So how do we continue to communicate those things? Another topic I touched on earlier, but I think is really important to highlight, is change management. That doing something related to technology and innovation requires your people to be willing to change and do something different. I think people like to say they're very supportive of technology and that it's something that we need to do as a firm or as an organization or industry. But if your people aren't willing to actually make the change themselves and not just say the change is for everyone else, then it's not going to work. And so I think that change management, both kind of at the personal level, at the firm level, and at the industry level, is so critical right now. Sometimes I wish I would have gotten a psychology degree with some of the conversations I'm having to have with people. But I think, expectations and change management are 2 things that come to mind.
Yeah, no, change management is definitely a topic that has come up again and again and again. And, it's easy to get caught up in what the newest technology hype is, whether it's AI or virtual reality, something like that. But at the end of the day, it really kind of comes down to people. Well, We are approaching the end of our interview, but I want to end on a positive note and kind of get your thoughts and ideas on what you think the top opportunities and benefits are for a firm who's going to, embark on a digital transformation journey.
Yeah, well, I think one of the top things that I'm seeing within our organization is that the way it energizes people, I think especially young people that we're all working to recruit and retain, technology is increasingly something that is part of people's day-to-day life. And so I think as firms and as organizations, if we're embracing that, if we're saying I want to be investing in you and your innovative ideas, I think that really energizes people and makes them feel empowered to both contribute something to your organization, but also to the communities that we're working in. And I would say that's the other thing that I really feel energized. The world that we're working in is an increasingly complex place. And I think that leveraging technology is a way that we're going to be able to have a really big impact. And I would say an even bigger impact. That's what I love about our industry is that on a daily basis, we're able to see the impact that it has in the places where we live, work, and play. And I think that's just going to grow even more as we're able to leverage technology to do that.
Well, that's a very optimistic and exciting piece of this digital transformation is really the employee engagement and excitement in capturing it. Well, Chelsey, thank you so much for coming on our podcast today and talking to us about digital transformation. And we wish you the best and look forward to connecting again throughout our technology committee here at ACEC.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Thomas. I appreciate it.